General, your special order has arrived in Bay 7.
General Werner von Wayner beamed through a mouthful of sauerkraut, then lowered his fork to clap excitedly.
Thank you, Hauptmann. I shall be down presently for a personal inspection.
His aide-de-camp nodded and closed the door to his office while von Wayner dabbed his lips using a napkin emblazoned with the Lyran fist. He simply couldn't wait to see what was standing for him in Bay 7. His lunch could. Grabbing his coat and buttoning it against Larcad's typical chilly temperatures, and studiously ignoring how several buttons strained against his middle, General von Wayner hurried to Bay 7 where the CP-10-Z Cyclops stood looming like an ancient gargoyle. He giggled and clapped again, knowing that it would be his chariot as he led the charge to retake Scandia from the dreaded Draconis Combine. He'd called in more than a few political favors to secure the Cyclops, a rare battle mech that had once been the pinnacle of battlefield command, all thanks to its Tacticon B-2000 battle computer. Centuries of war had vastly reduced the number of Cyclopses still operating in the LCAF, and fewer still had a working B-2000 battle computer. But now that von Wayner had one, his victory was almost assured. Not that he needed a computer to help him win, of course. A graduate of the prestigious Nagelring and bearer of a fine noble pedigree, von Wayner knew he already possessed everything required to defeat the accursed Drax. But a small and very expensive technological advantage never hurt either. Von Wayner returned to his office, smiling broadly, confident his glorious campaign would go down in history. It would be as easy as finishing his lunch. Sparks showered over General von Wayner's console as his Cyclops took a heavy autocannon round in the shoulder. The invasion of Scandia was not going according to plan. At first, everything had been perfect. The general had fed his various regiments' data into the Tacticon B-2000, and it had automatically generated a plan of attack. As data came in from numerous engagements, the B-2000 automatically tagged opponents and adjusted its tactics to meet each new threat. All von Wayner had to do was relay the orders given to him by the B-2000. Then, a strange animated graphic of a paperclip popped up in the middle of his heads-up display, asking whether he wanted to save his document. He'd taken a few moments to figure out how to wave the holographic image away, but by then, the Drax had met his bold forward thrust, spearheaded by the heaviest assault mechs available, a move that only confirmed his absolute faith in the computer, with a counterattack that seemed to defy the B-2000's calculations.
General, the enemy has halted our advance and is rolling up our western flank.
The concerned voice of his aide had called over the radio.
What are your orders?
That is...
Von Wayner stammered, desperately trying to revive the frozen B-2000 by hammering in as many buttons as he could reach. Eventually, several holographic windows filled his view screen. One asked if he'd like to purchase a static image of a monkey wearing sunglasses and a baseball cap. Another demanded to verify his age and payment info for a lewd broadcast. A third inquired about sending financial assistance to a prince in Nigeria, a province von Wayner had never even heard of. But then, he'd heard a series of panicked shouts over the brigade emergency line, followed by his aide confirming a breach in their rearmost defensive line.
The Drax have inserted right behind us, sir.
His aide began, but then a loud explosion cut him off, followed by static as the line went dead. That's when a flight of LRMs had impacted the back of von Wayner's Cyclops. He was tossed in his command couch and banged his neurohelmet against the B-2000's console, which had thankfully removed the offensive floating windows, but had unfortunately turned the cool blue hue of the console an ominous shade of red. Now, von Wayner fought on two fronts. One internally as the B-2000 stubbornly refused to issue new commands, and the other externally as von Wayner maneuvered his Cyclops to repel the DCMS forces that had penetrated into his command bivouac.
You blasted machine!
Von Wayner shouted, smashing his fist against the red screen.
I paid so much for you, just tell me what to do!
Surprisingly, an emotionless robotic voice replied,
I can't do that, Werner.
The general's bushy eyebrows shot up in shock, but before he could reply, a second autocannon round penetrated his Cyclops armor and triggered its automatic ejection system. Few battle mechs achieve the level of notoriety as the Cyclops. Reserved almost exclusively for high-ranking military commanders thanks to its advanced command and control systems, relatively few Cyclops were produced, and even fewer survived the crucible of the Succession Wars. However, owing to its high-value occupants and despite its many flaws, the Cyclops has remained in the public consciousness for generations. Introduced in 2710 by Stormvanger Assemblies Unlimited, the Cyclops was designed as a mobile headquarters unit for SLDF field commanders. At the center of the Cyclops design was the Tacticon B-2000 battle computer, an advanced piece of isotech that allowed a single pilot to command entire brigades from the cockpit of their mech. The exact function of the B-2000 has been lost to time, but it's assumed that it employed advanced algorithmic learning and artificial intelligence to ensure total battlefield command and control. Outside of its command and control systems, the CP-10-C was a deeply flawed 90-ton assault mech. A variety of weapons including two diverse optics Type 20 medium lasers, a HoverTech Quad SRM-4 launcher, a Delta Dart LRM-10, and a Zeus 36 Mark III autocannon 20 allowed the Cyclops to engage at all ranges. But its 10 tons of standard armor meant that the Cyclops had a fraction of the protection found on most mechs of similar size. An expansive cockpit viewport and bulky electronic suit also produced vulnerabilities in the Cyclops' head armor, leaving what is almost always a priority target even more exposed than a 90-ton chassis should be. Proponents of the Cyclops would argue that the mech was never intended to fight. Almost all Cyclops were part of a command lance, and most had additional bodyguard units ensuring their protection. The offensive capabilities of the Cyclops were only intended to ensure its survival against stealthy opponents that were able to penetrate to a unit's rear echelon, such as the Spectre or Exterminator. However, the failings of the Cyclops became readily apparent over the course of the Succession Wars. The Stormvanger plant on CAF was destroyed during the Ameris Civil War, and while the Cyclops didn't see nearly as much attrition as other mechs at first, centuries of warfare and lack of replacement parts eventually caused increasing failures of the complex B-2000 computer. By the Third Succession War, fewer than 10% of the remaining Cyclopses had a working B-2000. Commanders desperate for whatever material they could find began pressing Cyclopses without functioning computers into roles they were never intended, including frontal assaults, resulting in disproportionate losses compared to other, more durable assault mechs. The arrival of the Helm Memory Core saw a revival in Starleague technologies, including the blueprints for the Tacticon B-2000. But by then, brigade-sized maneuvers were extremely rare. Command and control for inner-sphere militaries had largely moved to dropship-based mech commanders, and the Draconis Combine had introduced its C3 system for tactical information sharing. Although B-2000s could be restored, most forces saw very little use for them. Instead of returning as master of the battlefield, the Cyclops saw numerous field upgrade packages from various house armies, starting with the CP-11-A and 3045, which merely replaced the AC-20 with a Gauss rifle. The Draconis Combine also brought forth the CP-11-C, which further modified the CP-11-A by removing the LRM-10 launcher in favor of a C3 master computer. This led to a full line of C3-equipped Cyclopses that still exist to this day. The Cyclops wouldn't see a true revival until Groomium Creations purchased the design schematics and produced the first all-new chassis in centuries. The CP-11-G, introduced in 3058, was built on an endo-steel frame and finally provided the Cyclops with adequate protection in the form of 15 tons of ferrofibrous armor. The armament largely followed the CP-11-A. but with the medium lasers upgraded to extended range variants, and the SRM-4 enhanced with streak tracking. Grumium later produced the CP-12K, using then available systems from the Draconis Combine. The LRM-10 was replaced with the MRM-20, and the Gauss rifle was replaced by an Ultra Autocannon 10. The latest from Grumium features all-clan construction and is sold on the open market. The Cyclops C mirrors the CP-11-A, but with streak guidance added to the LRM-10 and significant survivability in the form of Case 2 protected ammo bins and hardened armor. The bulky armor reduces the Cyclops C's running speed to just 54 kph, but it's far more resilient than all previous variants. One particularly noteworthy Cyclops variant arose in the periphery with the CP-11-H, built on the ancient 10-Z chassis. The CP-11-H retains the autocannon and lasers, but replaces the missile systems with 6 rocket launcher 20s. Additionally, the 11-H's armor has been replaced by 11.5 tons of ferrofibrous plating. Seen as early as 3064 in the employ of pirates, the exact source of this deadly upgrade package remains a mystery to this day. Today's Cyclopses are almost nothing like their ancient forebears. It has gone from being a specialized command vehicle to an affordable, sturdy assault mech that is only occasionally piloted by unit commanders. The Cyclops' old faults have been solved, but one can't help but wonder if the price of success was too high for what was once such a unique design.